Cool. But yeah, last session was a ton of action, right? It was we were just picked up from Soth grabbing the morning flame from the tall tower of Castle Calaman, jumping on a red dragon, and almost all of the bronze bombers jumping onto this same dragon. Melodia staying behind for who knows what reasons, really, but ultimately staying and saving Levna Drakehorn, another powerful knight of Solamnia, and very much, very much if Melodia wasn't there, that might have been the end of our friend Levna, but it looks like they have been saved. With the help of Theriatus and his goons at the end. I know things were very emotional during that scene, kind of, with the Lyx and Sneak and Marshall Nestra stuff happening. But yes, if you guys forgot, Theriatus, sleazy High Council member, and his two goons, the very powerful looking Minotaur, Asteros, and the weird red robe that seems unnamed as of now, they came in and kind of helped clean up shop with the help of Melodia, who awkwardly transformed in front of Levna back to Melvin when Levna asked, "Who the hell are you and why'd you help me?" I didn't forget about that, Errol, so I hope you're ready to go back to that scene. Yeah, but meanwhile, while that was all happening, the rest of the Bronze Bombers, along with Marshal Nestra, the supreme military leader and protector of Calaman, Marshal Nestra Vendry, ultimately, you guys, I think it's safe to say, failed on your quest to retrieve the Morning Flame from Soth and to stop Soth and the dragon, really. And although the quest, the objective to grab the flame failed, once Marshal Nestra fell after coming back from pretty much it seemed like death, just pure willpower pushing her to push herself up, surprise Soth, and block him from killing Sneak initially. Soth then catching himself quickly and finally finishing her off and throwing her off the dragon. Once that happened, Willow, you just jumped off. You reached for Nestra, failing actually, but luckily our friend Misko was paying attention to the battle happening in the skies above and was there to catch you all with a featherfall spell. From there, you and Vitus, the Knight of Solamnia, who's also adept at riding horses, the tiefling, the big nice tiefling Knight of Solamnia, you just charged on to the Sanctum. That's the name of the White Robes kind of space, the Sanctum, in the Knowledge District to try and save her life. And yeah, as Marshal Nestra fell, our two smallest members of the Bronzeburst stayed behind. They did not jump ship. They did not jump off the dragon and test their luck with whatever was below. They stayed and they fought bravely. They tried to take on Soth, just them two. And, after courage on the part of Sneak, courage and lack of fear and, willingness to just stay to the mission and try to take that dragon down still, unfortunately, Sneak just couldn't overcome the dragon or Soth. And Soth picks him up, throws him in the air, and skewers him like a shish kebab. And I do want to kind of we will start actually the session with this. So actually, maybe I won't describe this too much. We'll jump to Willow, Melvin. Eventually, Melvin, we're going to go back to the Levna scene with Theriatus, but you eventually make your way to Willow, and you're the benevolent, the big, old, white, furry creature thing that doesn't speak or anything, but was seemingly able to bring Marshal Nestra back to breathing and pulses. But she is in a totally comatose state. I didn't really describe it, but she still has black veins kind of pulsing everywhere, and I mean, she looks really rough. She kind of looks almost like she's possessed and just totally knocked out. But from there, she was taken to another space within the Sanctum. And then you two see your friends charging in, one being carried by Scrip, the journalist, the Aarakocra bird person, that being Lyx, and the other being carried by Sneak's family and Than, the gnome tinkerer, on this weird-ass Leonardo da Vinci Renaissance-looking winged thing, wooden little wing thing, crashing in, and then boom, just in the nick of time, seemingly getting the two shorties to You're the Benevolent in time to bring them some kind of stability, but not enough. They are still unconscious and knocked out. So I want to start a little bit, or did I miss anything? Any recap, anything that was impactful that I may have forgotten?
I mean, there was some crazy stuff with the flaming orb. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's
Are we
true.
gonna touch on that or?
We might, but yeah, I mean, you hear the voices of Ispin, I believe, and of Sneak's ancestor, Jandin, just kind of calling out. And I think think it was only you, Lyx, actually, that heard these voices. But the morning flame seems to have, I mean, I don't want to I don't want to give you guys answers. What is the morning flame? Yeah, actually, this is a question for you all. What do you guys think what is it? Like, what is going on inside of it?
Not a clue what it does. I just know it's important.
Conversely, I have some theories.
Okay.
I've been waiting for someone to listen to my theories. So, the morning flame is a pre-cataclysmic or slightly post-cataclysmic relic. It seems to have the power at most to wipe out civilizations or to be used as a weapon, as we saw with Lyra Anovis. I might have said that name wrong for lore I wrote, which
But I think that's right. That's how I would say it.
Okay, so Lyra Novis, the new Anesti, or Drow for our viewers, if they're a little confused to our lingo, used it in their civilization in Mount Kawamba to take on what seems to be an underdark turf war between the new Anesti and Mind Flayers. So basically, the new Anesti mages, wizards, arcane, maybe knowledge users sort of tried to use perhaps the tide to wipe out the Mind Flayers, but it didn't work. And in fact, it didn't work in the worst of ways. And in fact, it pretty much transmorgified all of their people into the ghouls that we fought way, 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 way back in maybe episode 2 that we fought in Mount Kawamba. So that's at its greatest power. At its smallest power, it has the ability, and Soth has a weird connection to it. And so folks inside, or the souls who have been lost to either Soth or the Morning Flame, can sort of call out from the orb. When Melodia touched it, she heard Lyra Novus. When Lyx heard it, interacted with it, Sir Ispen Greenshield seems to have spoken from the beyond. So I think somehow the fact that it can ruin civilizations or perhaps capture souls is important, terrifying, and it's even made more so terrifying by the fact that now Lord Soth has it. Seemingly part of the Red Dragon army, a Knight of the Rose, this fucking daddy has the Morning Flame. Did that kind of explain it, Colton?
So yeah, at the bare minimum, and I won't tell you if you're right or wrong or anything, but at the bare minimum, it sounds like it's an incredibly powerful, and I would say the word evil relic, if it does these things that you're saying, an incredibly powerful and evil relic that might be ancient. And yeah, it has the capability of trapping souls, destroying people, transforming people. Okay.
I was thinking that, but I was also kind of thinking like the reverse, like it could also like perhaps set souls free or do other stuff like that. But I don't know, makes sense.
Well, you say that, and when Lick touched the morning flame in the very early sessions, you all got a long rest healing effect, if you remember that. So who knows, Colton?
It could have also opposite effects and heal. Interesting.
Cool.
I feel like my only addition to Errol's thoughts, my theory is such that I feel like it came from the cataclysm, like everyone mass dying during the cataclysm, like come together in this horrific power. Feels like maybe how it started.
Perhaps. Anything else?
My one non-fail, like my one thing I held on to after our session was that I landed some Palpatine lightning on Soth. That was like what I was able to take with me from all the elves.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because I kind of want to like flesh this out a little bit, but yeah, like basically Sneak seemingly dies in front of you, right? And from there on, you just go Palpatine mode. You know, Soth directly asks you like, do you want to die as well, basically? And you just stick around and fight him. Go Palpatine mode, launch your lightning, and actually land a hefty hit on him, which he then launches himself at you and starts slamming you while you're on the ground with his sword. You block one with a magical barrier, but then the rest, it's game over for you, and you get bloodied to heck, and immediately don't obviously have zero strength to grab onto the dragon and go rolling off. Yes, that's true. You did land a cool hit. You and Sneak both did, actually. You both landed. Sneak landed in the tower, before the dragon. That sneak attack arrow, which Soth disgustingly pulled out and seemingly was okay, but it hurt still. But yeah, the two shorties stuck around and really fought. Yeah, the little rope stuff going on, that's true. That was hilarious. And oh yeah, another, I think, moment that I recall that was pretty impactful was Willow trying to basically tackle Nestra off of the dragon, which I thought was pretty interesting, trying to just be like, I think we just have to save each other now. I think that's kind of the mode that, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, Willow, but it felt like you were like, at this point, let's just save ourselves and save our friends and try and retaliate when we're better suited to.
Yeah, no, that was kind of the plan. In Willow's mind, she mostly jumped to help everybody get off of the dragon because she was pretty sure there was nothing they could do to actually get anything back. So she was mostly exfil.
Right. Yeah, so I think I kind of want to start, and this is a little improv-y. I didn't have anything super written down because I actually wanted to give Lyx and Sneak the chance to jump in here as well. And maybe we'll start with you, Sneak, since you were technically the first one to go down. So I am on roll 20, not that it really matters, but Sneak, you've been lifted up. Life is leaving you as Soth throws you up, kind of like someone ready to hit a tennis ball, right? You throw it up to serve. It's kind of what he does to you. He like throws you up, and instead of serving, boom, stabs you enough and has the strength with one arm to keep you posted up, telling you something along the lines of like,
this is how your ancestor was mortally wounded.
So he's saying you are basically gonna die just like she did. In the same spot, you have the same shirt, that same area that had the stain has now your fresh blood over that shirt, piercing your mail. I remember just watching you kind of did the and I think you spit on Soth. But let's pretend now, let's forget about Soth. Let's go into Sneak's brain in this moment and what he's seeing. So right now, this little guy is looking at this horrifying death knight. Sneak, what's going through your mind in this moment as you feel that loss of consciousness coming? That, I mean, I've never really had this happen to me personally, but maybe like fainting, right? Like that loss of function is kicking in.
As Sneak is starting to lose consciousness and fade out, he thinks to himself, he's like, maybe I shouldn't have jumped out, but at the same time, if I would have stayed, that would have been complete dishonor, and I'd rather have death before dishonor, while also hearing what Soth is saying. So I spit on his face and then tossed out, and as I'm falling down, I think like I'm like probably already unconscious, like halfway, and I think while I'm lost consciousness, things are rushing through my head. He's like back in the forest with Ma and Pa when they were younger, and he's replaying that scenario that happened when they were, going to that house in the mission. Why were they going to the house? Who was in the house? Why were they trying to get out of the rose? Were they even trying to get out of the rose? Were they like, what was the end goal? And he never got to ask him any questions. He never got a chance to say anything to them. So that's kind of the first thing on his mind. And I think with that being in his thought, immediately like his own voice comes into his head and he's like screaming at himself, saying like, is this gonna make me a ghost now because I have unfinished business? Like, yeah. So that's pretty much it for where he's at, and I think he just fades out. And
that's cool. I think that's very much Sneak like, to be like, he's still thinking of like his mission kind of, and his like family. Even when you're dying and in pain, it's just like, no, fuck, maybe I overdid it. and now the answers might elude you forever. So that's pretty sad.
It is pretty sad. He could be a ghost wandering the planet forever now with questions unanswered.
Right. Cool. Well, Sneak, you're falling and falling. For a moment, you feel kind of the warmth of something, but then it's darkness and stillness. And Lyx, I'm going to jump to you real quick too, and basically the same thing. So, imagine dramatic music again. I'm not going to flip around too much just to keep the pacing going, but yeah, you see Sneak fall. He's falling and falling. The armored rider is casually still diving. I guess I didn't really talk about that person too much in the recap, but they're still diving and just burning some of the scorpions and flying back up and swooping back up and dodging bolts as you get angry and channel your energy of electricity and the tide and start launching attacks at Soth. Yeah, what's going on in your head? So your perspective, you see this horrifying death knight start walking toward you again.
Yeah, I think at this point there's like just that kind of feeling of giving up, which is like, I keep trying, I keep taking more power, and it's not enough. So I really feel like I was just ready to give what was left and call it good.
Dang, so kind of, but you're still angry enough to just do what you can, but accepting
Do
that
everything
there's no
that's left.
chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Accepting that there's no hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, it's very sad. So you're having these dark thoughts, Lyx, as you think your friends basically have died around you. Yeah, and Soth charges you after you hit him pretty hard, kind of pushing him back for a moment, but he recovers himself and launches himself at you. Hand out, slamming you to the ground. Slice, you block. The energy kind of cracks on your magical shield as he bursts in again with that second hit, breaking that magical shield, shattering like invisible glass almost around you as that first slice cuts you deep. But maybe it doesn't hurt that much because you're just giving in. As he goes in with that second slice. Swat, blood going everywhere that you don't see because your eyes are already closed. And you feel the tumble of rolling on scales as you start falling and falling and falling. And maybe you hear something for a second. Maybe
I have a little like thing for the fall.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is my edgelord Lyx moment.
Sure.
So all that's left are scales and ash as I plummet toward the end, whizzing past enraged screams from a bejeweled dragon in another realm, soulless eyes of a death knight, and a limp friend upon the knight's blade. Burying in that place that holds my power, what was once a churning sea feels like a dried out well. Right before hitting the cobblestone, faces race through my mind's eye. Willow bravely diving, Sneak trying his best against a dragon. Melvin ran away. Mestra crazed with a heart of steel. Dad doing his physical therapy while Pops tinkers with his mobility machine. Isabella singing to the birds. Onyx and Illustrious dining in a private hall of a seedy gambling house. And Darrett wide-eyes with his heart clutched in agony as he watches something that's just out of my frame of vision. Right before my light winks out, I sigh, thankful for the blessed relief soon to envelop my mutilated body and soul.
Wow. Yeah, and as you think that, I want to say like that you feel like Crake wants to yell at you, but you're holding him off with that. I think you're holding him off with that power that Nuitari gave you, and it's almost like something echoing and trying to break free, but you're just giving in, right? You're just giving in to the darkness. You don't want to hear what Crake has to say as it's muffled and gone and disappearing. And you know what? I'll give you both some inspiration for those if you don't already have it. I like that. I like what you both said there, as dark as it is. And Melodia and Willow, I should have said this, but I think I did want to start with them too, since they had such an impactful kind of thing. So hopefully it's still cool. I think it will be. Into stillness and floating, you both open your eyes, and just so you guys know, you're not together at all. These are different areas that you are both in, Sneak and Lyx. But you open your eyes and see stars and galaxies all around you as you are floating in space. What do you do? And remember, you two are alone.
I think as I'm floating there, I'm like, oh great, I'm a ghost. Just like, this is my life now. This is what I have to do. I just float around. I guess this is heaven or something. I don't know. And that's it. I'm gonna just stay still, motionless, without a thought in my head.
I think Lyx is just like trying to swim. Like, this is so niche, but when the robot gets shot out of the ship in Star Wars, and the robot's like finally happy because he's just alone and enjoying the vacuum of space.
You're talking about Rebels AP1?
Yeah.
That's so, yeah, you guys probably don't know what that is, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when it's just a scene where this robot who's kind of like C-3PO, like they forget him, villains leave him out in the middle of space, so he's just kind of floating around, and at first he's scared, but then he's like, actually, yeah, fuck everyone else, this is great, and he's like super happy and just floating in space. So Lyx, you're kind of happy, you're kind of relieved, and you start kind of trying to swim through like space. Yeah, you guys can both seemingly breathe. I mean, it's hard to know if you have breathing, but you're fine. You're not suffocating. Okay, Lyx, could you do an Arcana check, and Sneak, do a Perception check? And no matter what you roll, you both do eventually notice, and your rolls will matter, but not for this part. No matter what you roll, you both do eventually notice brightness above. And maybe this brightness is white, bright, luminescent figures, silhouettes of light. there is a warmness emanating from them, and kind of like it almost feels like beings that want you to go to them and want you to join in this warmth. It feels good. It feels good, whatever's coming from these beings of light. What do you guys do? And then I'll get to your roles.
Sneak's gonna shut his eyes as he's like sitting there, and he's gonna just start working on his breathing, and he's gonna like try to move towards those beings of light, and then just leave it at that. And he's just gonna move towards them while his eyes are all closed, and he's like trying to get into a meditative stance or something.
Yeah, you're moving like kind of comically slow, but it's okay. It seems like you're vibing with that. It's like going really slow, but you are heading in that direction as you're kind of like doing this meditation and finding peace.
I'll stay with the swimming vibe, but now I'll head toward this very attractive light.
Cool. And Sneak, with that 11 perception, you do notice something flickering below you, but it's up to you if you want to like look at it more. But it's just kind of a weird flickering, like pretty far down below you. You just see like, and it feels more like it's not, shooting stars or a galaxy or something. It's something else that seems like it's almost like, like embers or something. For a second, it kind of catches like the side of your eye.
So I'm like, I still see these beings, but I can like maybe sense or tell there's something under.
Yeah, from your peripheral, you kind of see that. But it's up to you if you're going to like look down or if you're going to follow the warmth of the light, of the beings of the light.
I'll go towards the being still. Yeah, I won't even pay attention to light.
You're just like, whatever, some squiggly line on the side of my eye or something. And Lyx, with that dirty 20, it's not like Sneak at all. You immediately feel dread. Horrible, 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 heavy, heavy dread in the tide. As if intense gravity is weighing down on you. A gravity that's unbearable, a feeling of dread, maybe worse than ever, even with Vogler, even with knowing that Vogler was going to be attacked, even with Soth escaping with the morning flame. It's just the pure feeling and emotion of dread as you, far below, feel this energy, and it's flickering, and you see this sphere that's totally dark, yet somehow you could still see it in the vacuum of dark space. It's so dark that it's still there, and it's flickering like a torch, this black fire. The embers rapidly start to flicker out. They get faster and faster. What do you do, Lyx? Sneak, you didn't notice it because you're still just following the light.
So is the light in the opposite direction of this kind of force, this
Yes,
pool?
exactly. Yes. So the light's above, the force is below. Maybe they're kind of like angled.
Okay. Then I'll start doing like the butterfly swim, the fastest swim to move.
Do an athletics check.
The light.
Do an athletics check.
Ooh, 8.
Not good enough, as it's actually it almost feels like with each stroke you're going further down instead of up as you start to maybe feel frantic. And the fiery embers start to shoot out into streams, almost into skinny streams. And then with your dirty 20, you notice that they look like skinny arms, hundreds of skinny pitch black arms with hands shooting out like dolphins diving in and out, growing and growing.
I think like at this point I like maybe feel my dad's little kingfisher in my pocket, and I'm just kind of like coping and rubbing it.
And you see like some hands kind of reaching out from the light above. It seems like these light radiant hands are kind of beckoning to you, but they can't reach you. They can't grab you, as it seems like they're getting further and further away from you. Sneak, you're still going toward it peacefully, but you don't realize that that slow meditative movement you are doing is now like almost a standstill. And I'm not sure if you can react, Sneak, if you want. You still don't really know what's going on below you.
I think if I could feel myself kind of not moving, I would like open my eyes and just like maybe just open my eyes and just take a look.
Yep. As suddenly this orb is much bigger, growing and growing, and the hands start shooting out. More hands coming out, seemingly reaching out at something, everything around them. And then suddenly you both definitely hear whispers and talking and people screaming and laughing, all kinds of voices that make no sense, shooting out at this thing. And then these hands start streaming toward you and Lyx, as the flame grows and grows and grows, and these hands merge into one giant dark hand reaching out toward you all, looking like this. Reaching out, this dark mass going, these whispers continuing, moaning, screaming, different languages, and then this entity starts to grow and it takes a form of something, of a giant humanoid. As you and Lyx, I'm guessing, are still trying to like now pick up your pace, I'm guessing, to try and get away from this thing that's pulling at you, that's trying to bring you back down to something. What do you guys do? It's coming.
I would try to avoid it touching me or anything touching me at this point, even these like light beings. I just want to like try to maneuver away from it touching me at all if I can.
And its form continues to grow and become just this entity of spirits and all kinds of voices and this amalgamation of things and people. And you two are doing okay, I think, if you're really fighting it and trying to move forward.
Sneak is like moving very suave too. He's not like trying to be rushing or aggressive. He's still like trying to be very still and move very still, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then suddenly, I think you guys could see this, but that's okay. You guys hear, now you can see a little bit of you hear a horrifying, as it seems to have waken up, this horrifying scream as it launches at you, and these tendrils shoot out, these hands shoot out, and they start grabbing. These small arms crawl up your body, and they start pulling at your skin on your faces. They start to grab at your body. They start to grab at your limbs as you're getting pulled down, almost like puppet strings. These hands have become on your bodies as you're getting pulled in further and further to this massive being. What's going on in your heads? What do you guys do?
I think I'm gonna just start panicking. Like alternatively, the Sneak, I would not be like calmly trying to get out. I think I'm just like kind of hoping for help, wishing for help somewhere in the void. Maybe even like hoping for Ispin. I don't know. He told me not to die. That was the last thing I heard from him.
Sneak is fully
You hear
accepted.
laughters, you hear all kinds of disturbing responses from this thing. Creepy breathing, kids laughing. No Ispin yet to be heard.
Sneak is gonna just go ahead and just let it happen. YOLO. Like he's dead. Like he don't care anymore. Like whatever, dude. Let's do this.
Yeah, and it feels like more now. It's actually like almost like beings now, like figures, like with full hands pulling you both down and down further into this mass, into this horrifying entity. When all hope seems lost, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a colossal, golden, white, radiant ox thing burst in, slashing this being's arms and tendrils with its mighty horns as it uses its large, fluffy body to get you onto its body. Are you guys, I'm guessing you guys hang on to the fur? This thing breaks through, cutting this being almost in half as the being starts screaming, and for a moment you see various like figures, just all kinds of figures like twitching around on this dark, horrifying entity. And then you start to move. You start to gallop like a deer. This being is galloping through the astral space like a deer, hopping and skipping through space. And this entity keeps reaching out. It's almost like turning into multiple entities to try to like catch up, spreading itself, dividing itself to try to catch you too. But this ox keeps going and going, and the dark entity gives out a horrific scream again, an echoing scream, multiple screams all at once coming together. But it can't catch you guys as you hop, gallop, hop into the light. So you all see brightness, just pure radiance and light. And just to kind of keep it with the Willow and Melvin thing, this is happening as the ox horns have touched your friends, as you're the benevolence horns have touched them. This is what's happening on their side of everything. While you guys just see them kind of on this grassy platform, this is what's actually going on with them in this whatever realm they're in. And we could take a break soon if you guys all want, but I can sort of set up the next thing, and I might jump around to, if we do take a break, I might jump to Melodia, to Melvin, Melodia, and Willow, just to kind of keep things a little balanced here. But Lyx and Sneak, I'll leave you with this at least. You guys hear the rustling of leaves. You hear a calm breeze. You hear birds chirping again. And you're not together again. I want to emphasize that you two aren't together, but you're suddenly in this space. Just a green, beautiful hills. Not a tree in sight except for this tree though. It's just a bunch of green hills, a big old tree here, this ox-looking being. Now it does not look like that giant radiant thing that just saved you all. It just looks like a pretty and you know, strong and big white ox thing. And it's just kind of chewing grass and it kind of like lifts its head every now and then and looks at you both, or at you in different spaces. Yeah, what do you guys do?
I don't know. I'm gonna just like I guess since I'm waking up, Sneak's waking up, he sees this cow and he just like has this like feeling inside of him of like safeness. Like he could like literally fall asleep on this hill right now and he could spend the rest of his life right here sleeping on that hill. He's pretty chill right now. He's pretty happy with
Do
just
you
being on
sleep?
this hill.
Do you fall asleep?
No, I think I'm gonna just sit here on this hill and try to meditate, like just try to be
Cool.
tranquil as hell. And I
Cool.
think that seeing that cow like really makes him happy in a weird way, or the ox.
Yeah, awesome. How about you, Lyx? You're seeing the same thing, but no Sneak.
Is there water anywhere? Like a little pond or a stream?
Not really. There might be like a valley way down below with like a river. That might be something that you could see far below. Maybe there's a little bit of moisture in the air as it's kind of cloudy but very gorgeous sky here. Very kind of spacey vibe to the sky still.
I think like I'll just examine myself and like look at my body. Is it a real body?
It seems so. Yeah, except now you have a new scar. You have a new scar across your chest.
The X scar?
Yep, the X scar, and it's pretty disturbing. It looks like massive cut wounds across your chest, so and kind of deep, right? Kind of little divots or whatever. But there also seems to be kind of this like kind of creepy scaling, reptilian kind of scale kind of appearing on the edges of it, almost looking like a little disease, seemingly more related to your connection to Craig, probably what Lyx would immediately assume.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the scales on your back, basically.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'll try to get up. If I can't walk toward water, then I'll walk toward the tree.
And the second you step forward, you hear this echoing voice. It's a strange, powerful, echoey voice that seems to emanate all around you at the same time, almost like thunder, but a pleasant, it's a pleasant voice and not thunder. And it's calming and pleasant, and it just says,
"Hello, Lyx. I am Errol. Welcome to my sanctum."
and it just kind of like echoes everywhere. So like when you hear the hello, it's like a
Hello, hello, hello.
it's almost like kind of going all around you in different perspectives, and like
I am your.
and this it seems like it's probably this ox thing talking to you, but it's still just chewing. It's still just chewing and eating. It's not actually moving its mouth or anything. It's just emanating out. Exactly, just how Errol's kind of showing there. Okay, Sneak and Lyx, you guys want to keep going then, if that's okay? If you guys don't need a break? Okay. I can go with whoever wants to kind of continue. I do enjoy the jumping back and forth between you two because you're so different. I think it's pretty fun.
You can jump back to Sneak.
Yeah, so Sneak, you meditate for as long as you want, and then nothing is said. You don't hear anything. But eventually, I'm guessing Sneak, like it might have been hours, Sneak, if you want. It could be hours, it could be maybe days, it could be whatever you want.
Yeah, I think, Sneak is always thinking, always moving, always doing. He's always got missions, he's always got goals. He can't remember half the things because his mind's always moving so fast. So he's weirdly enough really appreciating the stillness that being dead is like brought him. In a weird way, he was very fearful of being a ghost, but now that all this has happened, he's just so chill. So I think it maybe he did meditate for like a day or two, and he's now kind of just coming out of it and like, okay, now I need to go do some stuff. So I think he will stand up and he'll just like maybe go up to the cow and try to pet it and maybe try to touch the tree.
Cool. Yeah, as you like walk up to it, same exact thing that I described with Lyx happens, except your says your name.
Hello, Sneak.
And like it kind of like,
Sneak, Sneak, Sneak. Welcome to my sanctum. I am your.
And it's very calming and almost meditative, the voice itself, and very non-forceful. It's like, I mean, not that I guess the voice can be forceful, but it's just very chill. If you want to speak, you can. If you want to chill, you can. There's nothing being forced here.
I'll say, hello, where am I? What is this place?
That's a good question.
And I won't do it every time, but just imagine it happens.
But perhaps one too complicated to explain now. The white robes in Calaman have all kinds of lore on this realm and on me. For now, you are the one that's in danger, or so it seems. And I want to give you the space and time you need to heal and to recover and to rest if you need to. You seem weary and excited at the same time.
Being dead has kind of been an eye-opening experience. That's for sure. But I mean, I think I'm ready to help if you can help me help. I don't know.
You are ready to go back so soon?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Why do you want to go back?
I'm bored.
And I think it doesn't laugh, but it does like a snort sound, like a, that seems like not an angry snort, like almost like a funny sneeze. He says,
That makes sense. You have a lot of people that care about you and love you, and they're the ones who brought you to me, actually. Were it not for your friends, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. Your friends and your family.
That's good to hear.
and then like as he says that, like you do kind of see like images of kind of some of your thoughts sneak. You see the images of your family in that cabin, your parents following that cabin, but you also see images of you maybe as a kid, ma holding you as your little baby, and you like crawling around, maybe hiding in cupboards, and eventually they give you the name Sneak. I don't know if you want to add to that, but the Lings give the name based on what the skill sets or whatever, and you would just always be hiding somewhere, and they'd all have to look for you, and they'd freak out. Smarts would get really upset, and he was like, Jesus, he's a baby, and everyone else would kind of treat it like a game. And you kind of see some of these images, and Yor is not really like trying to get anything out of you. They seem to be appearing in the sky as he just keeps chewing grass. He's not really doing anything. Do you react to any of this?
As he's like seeing all these and like reviewing his past, like he's just like tears are just like pouring down his face. He's just like, I don't know, ecstatic, feeling in ecstasy, just seeing all of it.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, and as the tears start kind of pouring, they kind of start to like condensate. They like go down and then become little balls and start floating up and up and up and up as the wind starts to pick up some leaves that start moving up and up and up, and pieces of grass shavings and the leaves. And Yor just says,
I really enjoy simply being with you, Sneak. I hope maybe not to meet again, to be honest, but you'll see a version of me soon enough.
I look forward to that.
as it seems like this world is kind of starting to, instead of, you know how in the painted world it started to collapse and go down, this world is the opposite. It seems that things slowly start to float up, but still become, start to break apart like a puzzle, and you slowly start to break apart eventually after everything else is going up, and you're becoming streams and you start heading up, but you have no idea how much time has passed, Sneak, in the real world, and we won't reveal that yet. But unless there's anything else, you're breaking apart, you're like, oh shit. Lyx.
That was great.
Yeah, Lyx, kind of the same thing with you. You're just in this space with the Ox.
So I guess I'll start walking toward him after he greeted me, and I'll say, hello, Yor. Did you save my life?
Not really. Your friends did. I was simply there at the right time.
Is this your world?
Not really. But it is the space I stay in and enjoy. It's a place that keeps me close to my past.
So when you're in our world, is your mind in this world?
Seemingly so.
And again, it's like just echoing. And it's really hard to tell because it's kind of like a deep, pleasant voice. It's hard to tell any kind of tone or inflection, or it's hard to decipher there's no mannerisms or inflections in the voice or in the being. It's just chewing grass and kind of looking up at you every now and then.
So I'm to understand that you are from a different world and you choose to live in my world?
You're asking many questions about me, yet it is you who have been in utmost danger. It is you who many miss and love and wish to see again. The white robes.
And he kind of gives that same little spiel of like,
the white robes have many, many answers to your questions about him if you want those.
But he's emphasizing you right now and your weariness and wanting to give you a space to rest and to recover.
Well, then you said that you might see water off in the distance?
Yeah, it's like a river way down, though. Like it's like super down. It'd be a Lord of the Rings little journey kind of thing.
Okay, then I will take a Lord of the Rings journey.
Cool.
Down to the water and go fishing.
Okay, awesome. And Yor doesn't stop you. He doesn't do anything.
Okay.
And to you, it still feels like definitely many hours, but possibly more.
I'm imagining that, does it become night in this realm?
Not really, no. No, it's pretty, maybe it becomes a little dimmer, but not dark. It doesn't become dark.
Okay, so it's like 24 hours of sun, but you might get the vibe of a sunset, sunrise.
Right. And as you get there, it takes a long time. Maybe you're thinking of a lot of stuff, but there's already like a fishing pole there and like a little like seat, a little stool, a tiny little stool that's already there with bait and tackle. It's all just there set up. No one else is around. And then, you're at this beautiful river. The water's kind of rushing. Yeah, so you start fishing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll fish for a while and see if I catch anything.
Yeah, and a couple hours pass, and you do actually go ahead and do a survival check. It's still D&D, baby.
So I need to look at my modifier. I don't remember
It should be
survival.
wisdom.
Okay, wow.
Wisdom.
21.
Excellent. You get like a fucking bucket of fish. You got like a bucket of fish there. All kinds of beautiful river fish. Some of them are very weird though and have very interesting features to them, you know, weird lights, maybe like luminescence on some of them, weird white streaks, and maybe a catfish that looks very golden and radiant. So some of them are very odd, others are classic river fish. But about a couple, maybe 2-3 hours in, Yor does show up and is just drinking kind of water from the river now. But doesn't scare you. It was very obvious that he was like kind of walking over a hill and just goes up to the river and starts drinking water.
I'll inquire.
Before you say anything, actually, you hear something in the sky. You hear, do a history check at advantage. As you hear beautiful strumming of a lute, it sounds like, and maybe some flute instruments.
I got 16.
Nice. And you immediately recognize the voice of Waywin Sparkleboots coming from the sky. And you keep hearing, so I won't play it all now. And you'll see why later this session, I think. But you hear it, this beautiful, this kind of the beat of it. But you hear that first part for sure, the duerme junto a mí, que tu alma vuele a descubrir sueños. And then you hear that río, 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 río abajo. You keep hearing that, the río, río, río abajo. And this is all Gnomish. This is all the Gnomish tongue. So Spanish is Gnomish in this world. You hear the Gnomish tongue, the lyrics to a classic lullaby that he would sing you about hanging out down by the river, basically, and just a song about coming back together and you know, being with each other and being down by the river. So you hear that before you're able to say anything to Yor, you start hearing that. Like, it's not super clear, the entire song, it's like in pieces, but you hear it and you know it's Waywin singing to you.
I'm crying in real life and the dream world.
Yeah, and Sneak, I did forget to say, at a certain point, you really feel a great warmth around you. As you say, I'm kind of bored. You feel like a warmth around you, as if someone is just hugging you so intensely. And it feels very familiar as well, Sneak. So maybe while you two, at separate times in separate space, you have this like moment with, seems like a loved one, that they're connecting to you somehow in the two worlds, right? So you're crying, Lyx, as you hear your dad's voice singing to you, and he hasn't sung in a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to offer fish to Yor, so I guess I'm crying. And when I can compose myself, I ask, do you eat fish?
And he kind of looks at you and says,
I can.
And then like a piece of his hair turns like very golden and starts to like grow and like wiggle like a weird worm thing or something. And then it kind of like slowly goes toward the fish and wraps around the fish, this hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not trying to let you bring it to him. And then he just kind of slowly pulls it back to him, kind of like a weird octopus thing, as he drops the fish in front of him and starts to eat on it.
Okay.
And then he says,
My dearest gratitude.
in that echoey voice. And then he kind of says,
Was that your father? He has a wonderful voice.
Yeah, it sounded like it. It was very moving to hear him sing.
Yes, I think many people really miss you, Lyx.
I suppose I missed them too.
and he doesn't say anything. He's just kind of like calmly looking at you as he's eating the fish and looking at you with gratitude, as much as a ox cow thing can look at you with gratitude.
Yeah,
I think the river keeps kicking.
I just feel conflicted because in this world, you know, the power within me isn't roiling and always causing me to, you know, feel the need to expend it or explore it or be in control of it. There's this piece here that I haven't felt since Vogler was raised. But, you know, hearing Waywin, I feel like, you know, I'm ready to go home. But I'll always treasure this place because there was that, you know, that relief that I was looking for.
And Yor says something similar that he said to Sneak, you know, like he sort of hopes not to see you again. But he also says that,
yes, this place is where I want to be always too.
And as you're crying, the same thing that happened to Sneak happens. Your tears start to, slowly condense up, become little droplets, little balls that start going up slowly, but it's very slow. So no rush, Lyx, if you want to do something or say something.
I just wanted to thank him for sharing his field and river.
Of course, and you should really thank your friends. They're the ones who brought you just in time.
Goodbye.
And yeah, same thing that happened to Sneak, everything, including your fish. Your fish start to kind of like dematerialize, becoming molecules, whatever you want to call it, as they start floating and floating and floating up into the ether. And this world starts to unform, and you start to rise and kind of dematerialize as you head into a light. But just like Sneak, you have no idea how long it's been in the real world yet. And we won't find out yet because we're going to take a break. Yeah, so we will jump to Willow and Melvin, starting with Melvin. But Lyx and Sneak, I want you guys, obviously to pay attention to your friends still as they respectfully pay attention to you all, but also kind of think of your High Council characters. So I texted about it. So think about Thaddeus Timberjaw, the shipwrights High Council member, Colton, and Lyx, think of Onyx. I honestly forgot her last name, the Masons. So just kind of think about, and the way keep it simple. Your character, that High Council character, and maybe Melvin, I guess, in the background, but you'll have a little less time to think about it. That character in the background, just think of like, how the hell are they reacting to what's happening, right? There's a giant dragon that is swooping down, burning these, scorpions on the walls of Calaman. Calaman is smoking and billowing, and Calaman's been attacked, right? It's fair to say, to just call it that simple phrase. It's been attacked by these beings. So how does your High Council person react to that? You don't answer that now, because we will probably get to it later. So just kind of think about that. Like, what is your old corrupt whatever person be like, oh shit, and how would they want to react to that situation? And maybe Maester Elementios, you can kind of sort of think about that in the background, but he's a goofball, so you'll be fine. So, Melvin, we are back. We are back basically to that battle. And Theriatis, Asteros, the Minotaur, and the strange red robe bald person have shown up, along with some of the guards, some more guards and blue suits, the city guard of Calaman. They help clean up, taking out some of the remaining skeletons and finishing off Sir Taltus, or seemingly so. I think that's where we'll start. Sir Taltus kind of like falls to his knees. This giant minotaur skeleton being now drops the axe and kind of honestly lets out a semi-disturbing kind of like ghostly release. Ghostly like, oh, as like it feels like there's a breeze, something like this maybe. Yeah, it almost feels like a breeze like fluttering across you all, heading towards the windows as this happens. And Taltus kind of just like tries to hold on and then just collapses. And Levna kind of falls again to the ground and just grabs her like kind of right shoulder and is just like, she's like, I can't move it. Damn it. As it looks like even with all the healing that you've done as Melodia, it seems like she's pretty seriously injured still, although she's able to be awake and stuff. Go ahead. Do you want to say something? You jump in whenever.
Can I maybe retcon one thing?
Maybe? What is it?
Okay, so at the top of the stairs, what if Melodia turned into Melvin? Or do you want to keep that?
Okay, that makes more sense, I think. I think Melodia would be a little more secretive, right? So I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Instead of like right in
Okay.
the face. Yeah. In the
Yeah.
heat of the moment, because your
I
friends
was
were
like
dying.
doing, I was
You were
doing.
crying and your friends are dying and you're just like,
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I was like,
so
what do you want from who?
yeah. Sure, I think that makes a ton of sense. But then I will do a roll then. Okay, I did a roll and something is gonna happen. So Levna did not see this, but Levna's still like, where's that woman? Melvin, you've been here?
Yeah.
And she didn't see you transform, so she's very confused.
I was assisting over to the left with some of the skeletons, but she's gone. But we know her. Let's just say we know her.
Do a deception check still.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me go and grab my dice.
Yep.
Kig was
But as you do that, so I'm guessing you can still hear me, maybe. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. While you're doing that, regardless of what you roll, I mean, it'll matter for Levna, but another voice shoots out and says, yeah, what happened to that toots that was standing up there singing and doing all that beautiful dancing and sending out all these magical auras? She caught my eye and I could not even focus on saving the day like I wanted to. As Theriatis, the sleazy high council member, is kind of like leaning in at you and like smiling and has a big smile and is curious and is asking you, Melvin.
well, Melvin, maybe Melvin and Melodia think that Theriatis is a little. He's an attractive, like ball, and so I
He's
think.
very attractive to many people. Yes.
And so I think like the fact that he's like in Melvin's face, like when a really hot person is like in front of your face and you're awkward and you're like, well, I guess he doesn't really say much, but let me try and roll a deception check. Come on. I almost have to show you guys so you really do believe.
Yeah. Natural 20. Okay.
A natural 20.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
but plus deception.
Yep, whatever your plus is, yeah. Well, it's a natural 20. It's a natural 20. Levna kind of like backs you up. Levna backs you up and is like, I thought I saw that being too, and it sounds like it's just someone they know or can summon. And then Melvin, unfortunately, I did get a natural 20 perception with Theriatis. That was what I rolled a little earlier. So this is what's going to happen.
It's like mine was a 28 and then plus my proficiency bonus. What even is that? Oh, 3. So like 31.
Okay, that's very high. So you're very convincing. You're very sad, Melvin, maybe like sad and awkward Melvin. Like it's just very convincing and coming off strong. But Theriatis still says this. I saw like a twirl or something and I couldn't see it well because the sun was shining on you brightly. But I saw that being and then I saw you.
Well, if you had seen, you couldn't see because of where I was in the sun. But the bronze burst, there was a dragon that attacked. Like, did you?
Oh, I hear it, and you guys can still hear the dragon like flapping around and screaming and shooting fire out. You can still hear it happening out in the background as people are screaming. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know, I hear it."
Right now, my friends are on it. I didn't go with them.
That's a little suspicious of you. I thought you were a team.
I couldn't leave Levna.
Fair enough. Are you two a thing or something? I don't want to make assumptions. But regardless, I just want to say, if I could get that other elf contact information, I heard their voice. They were amazing.
I'll let her know that you called or something.
No. In fact, actually, I'll invite you and her and 3 other people maybe. I'm having a big old bash. And then he side quest thing, or it might have just popped up. It should say Theriatis party invite. As he says, he hands it over to you almost like a business card and says, now I can, if she's a performer, or maybe even you, buddy, I got room for performers and we can get you the start you need. But also you can just show up and have a good time at my good old mansion at Lake Anastasia in 2 weeks, and you can bring some buddies with you if you want. But I definitely want to see her again, old Melvin, old pal.
I'll get in touch with her agent.
Oh, so she is the real deal, huh? Okay.
Let's just say she's a real headliner.
Well,
sorry, I'm kidding.
Oh God. No, you're good. Theriatis is like, well then, I'm definitely gonna want an audition. But he actually does. He's like, I have the top talent coming to this thing. So if she is that good, we can talk about it. But I'll need to see her, before this 5 weeks? Before 2 weeks. Oh shit, it's in 2 weeks. So Theriatis's party at Lake Anastasia is in 2 weeks. You can invite 4 other people, Melvin. I mean, it's optional, but it's a thing there. So you now have that, hopefully in Roll20 there. I made a quick little Canva invite thing. Party till you cringe, party no more. Valid for 5 invites in 2 weeks. And then Theriatis kind of looks at you and says, by the way, you can just call me Theri, Melvin, old boy, old pal. And he kind of like extends his hand out. and shakes it. And he actually kisses your hand as long as you don't resist or anything. Yeah, he kisses your hand. He's like, the pleasure's mine. And he's kind of dangerously twirling around the crossbow he was holding as Steros is just kind of standing there looking at you pretty horrifically, but not saying a word. And meanwhile, the red robe being is out messing with Bob the skeleton, it seems. As Levna says, we should really go and see what's going on with this dragon. I can't be of service, but I can't be of much use, but at least we should check on our friends and allies. And
yeah, Melvin's gonna like help scoop her up, and like even though he's like
oh shit, okay,
two.
do a athletics check, do a strength check. Well, she was gonna say, as you're trying to do this, she's like, actually I was gonna ask if someone could help grab Saramel and Taltus's bodies, please. They deserve a proper sending off. Knight of Solamnia sending off.
Okay, hold on.
Esteros,
just a pure strength check?
Yeah, it's not good enough. You like try, and then your legs kind of like give up, and you're like, oh. It's good enough to not hurt her when you drop her. And Levna's like, let's just pretend that didn't happen. You've done enough to help me today, friend. I can walk. As Esteros, the living Minotaur, is like, I will pick up my brethren for you, sir. And he kind of like nods his head at Levna, and he picks up the giant skeleton body of the Minotaur, the dead knight Minotaur, kind of grabs his axe as well and puts it behind himself. As some of the guards that Sneak was kind of commanding, they pick up Saramel's body, burnt body, and a few of the other guards start getting the other bodies of the other like normal skeletons. And as they're all doing that and you start shuffling out, you might notice that the red robe is kind of like trying to talk to Bob the soldier, like doing some weird things in the background, but you're probably going to head out, I'm guessing, Melvin, correct? Okay, but that's kind of happening as you head out. And Theriatis kind of like walks up to, the red robe guy just to kind of check out what's going on. And that's kind of the last scene that Melvin sees in Tower Glorfindel. Okay, and now we're going to jump again forward maybe a few minutes, right? A few 10 minutes or whatever. Willow, you have seemingly saved the day as Marshal Nestra, her pulse comes back. A crowd has formed. The elf woman, there's two kind of caretakers for Yor. One was an elf woman, the other was kind of this blonde young guy. And they both do introduce themselves to you. The blonde guy is Lance, and the elf woman is Miathathil. So a pretty hard name. She kind of says, but you can also, everyone calls me the head Yori. And it's kind of like a colloquial name. You kind of pick up, it's a colloquial name to the caretakers of Yor. And she kind of explains that we help feed Yor, we help try and translate for Yor, and basically are the carekeepers of Yor the benevolent, the big ox. You're kind of, up these stairs on this pretty open, like plaza-ish area where Yor is. He's not really like hidden behind any giant pillars or there's no ceiling above him or anything. He's just out in the open in this giant plaza space that has these stairs with a small platform that has a lot of like beautiful growth and lush vegetation and stuff. And that's where the marshal is right now. On this growth, eyes closed, you see the black veins, you see her black hair, and she's honestly like as rough as she looks. There's a peaceful kind of beauty to her still at the same time, and one that maybe hasn't been on her face very often as she's been a little concerned about what's going on in the world. The Lance guy's a little more like loud and bombastic, and he's just like, oh, you can call me Lance. I earned this namesake here and this carekeeping title here, but really you should look around real quick because you're looking like a hero today. And as you do, do you do that? Willow, what do you do?
Bear in mind, Willow is still like kind of sobbing. Like I think it's starting to subside, knowing that they're gonna be okay, but she's just gonna look at this guy like, you're acknowledging the day I've had without actually acknowledging the day I've had.
And Vitus kind of like, he wants to like reach in to like touch your shoulder to like try and be like, it's okay, and like stops himself, and he then kind of looks at Lance and he's like, it's been rough. There is a crowd that's formed though, Willow, just so you know. Don't want them to shock you. As you both kind of hear in the distance a dragon like doing one last kind of roar and seemingly going past outside the furthest walls of Calaman on the west, leaving this red dragon slowly becoming a red dot and then disappearing. As you see smoke billowing on some of the walls on Castle Calaman up on the hill, it seems like most of the area that was attacked was Castle Calaman itself, up on the giant hill, the great hill, and mostly it's the walls that are around the castle where the scorpions were placed. A lot of those are the ones that are billowing the smoke now, and of course the high tower billowing from Soth's flames still. But you look around, Willow, and you see You see people gathering, those few brave souls, many white robes, of course, many white robed individuals of all ages. You know, maybe a little bit earlier, Miathithil, the head Yori, is like, the marshal, she's breathing again, you know, and then everyone's like, they start like cheering in spite of a dragon still kind of being in the area. They start cheering with joy and happiness, and they start clapping for you, and you hear kind of people saying like, isn't that that's the bronze bomber at the ceremony? That's the one. Yes, she's the big one. She saved the marshal. What's her name? Was it Wally? Willa? Like you're just hearing all these like kind of rumors and names being given out, and they're like, where's the rest of her friends? Did they fall? And then just a lot of people like looking at you with appreciation and admiration once again as you're literally above them all. You're the benevolent, now very giant in Calaman here, much bigger than what Lyx and Sneak saw in the grassy area, not the giant spiritual thing, but very big here, just kind of chewing in the background. As some white robes, it seemingly casts some kind of levitation spell on the marshal's body, and she starts to lift up very gently as her long black hair kind of flows back, and the crowd, you kind of hear some and like, you know, some people are crying again, and some people are, you know, saying things of I hope she'll be okay and blah blah, and they'll be like, I believe in Solinari's grace and stuff like that, all kinds of like wordings of you know, prayer and good feeling toward the marshal, as well as toward you now, Willow. And Lance kind of doesn't really say anything. He like looks a little awkward now to what you just said, and then he like his voice kind of cracks a little. He's like, oh, I'm just saying what I see, and he's like, yeah, that's the scene right now. That's where you are, as Vitus kind of looks solemnly toward Levna now being levitated by a few, or not Levna, Jesus, Marshall and Nestra being levitated by some white robes. Yep.
So it looks like they're trying to move her, I guess, somewhere inside. Are they doing the same for Sneak and Lyx, or?
So Sneak and Lyx have not arrived yet. You don't know their fates. So
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
I didn't say that yet. I did not
Yeah,
say
I
that.
was wondering if
I apologize.
Yeah.
I was wondering if like Willow was like following her, and then like the whole Nestor thing, and then all of a sudden it was like plop plop, two other bodies fall.
Yeah.
No, Misko came in at the last moment. Our red masked friend, our weird red bard, cast like kind of, he sang a Featherfall song that made them land gently. So yeah, otherwise they may have splatted, and that would have been a gruesome, horrific end.
Well, I could have pulled up with my wings, but she
That's
would have
true.
for sure. Yeah, so I think Willow will kind of turn to the older woman elf and ask if she can go. Can I go with Nestra? I want to make sure that she's okay.
Unfortunately, her wounds are too grievous. It seems almost as if she's cursed by some horrible necrotic energy. It's pulsing through her very bloodstream. Our lunar master, Eberk, and all of our expert healers in Solinari's Gaze Temple will need to spend some time with her. I imagine it's been a long time, but I've seen it happen before. This space will open up to the community soon, and everyone can come in and try to offer their prayers and light to heal Marshal Nestra. So yeah, basically she's saying right now she's basically getting taken to intensive care, the intensive care unit of this fantasy world.
I think I'm going to, as best I can, because a lot of things were happening, try to describe what Soth's weapon looked like. Obviously tell them that Soth the one who did this, see if there's anything I can tell them that can help.
Yeah, and she looks at Lance and she's like, take note quickly. Take note, Acolyte. And he's like, oh yeah, of course. And he has like kind of a notebook as you're saying all these things about Soth. I'm guessing you describe the redness of the blade, maybe you remember that he like waved his hand across it, and that's when some flames started flickering, some dark flames started flickering across it. And then
And that's with multiple hits by this, so it might be stronger than it otherwise would be. Just anything I can try to do to help.
Sorry, I missed that, what you said.
That she took multiple hits from the sword. It wasn't just a one hit.
Yeah.
It was, so it could be multiple. It could be worse than it looks.
Yeah,
and it looks
yeah, and Miathithil looks at you and she says, okay, this is very valuable. Necrotic energy seeps the very essence of life. It's the ultimate counter to joy, to radiance, to light. It burns it away as if it doesn't exist. For the marshal to withstand this, well, it takes a lot of willpower on her part. Somehow she's still fighting, but also you saved her. You and Sir Vitus here brought her just in time to give her the best fighting chance she can have. I don't know if that'll bring you any solace, but just know that you may have saved her life.
I sure hope so. I had to leave my friends to do that. She kind of looks over where the dragon's flying away. I don't even know where they are.
And actually, I think this is a good moment to go back in time just a little bit, as I'm going to do a little vignette for you all, unless you have more, Willow, but I think this is a pretty cool segue that you just presented. Melvin, at a certain point as you're heading down, you get the news, and you and Levna get the news from just kind of city guards that are rushing to help clean and take out the fires, right? But that have also been communicating with Fargabs. And they tell Levna specifically, not really you, but you're there to hear it, that the marshal has been grievously wounded and it's unsure if she's going to live, and she's been taken to the sanctum. And then they look at you and says, I believe one of your friends may have saved her with Sir Vitus. And then Levna's like, what? We must make haste to them. And so you kind of guys, just to cut it real quick, you kind of get the help of guards on horseback to take you to the sanctum. And because that's kind of where we ended last time. You were there for your friends at least, and you're rushing. So Melvin, you are rushing on horseback with some guards, kind of maybe a carriage kind of setup as you're going. Levna's kind of really grabbing her shoulder in pain as maybe, I don't know if you help, but some guards are trying to help with like just bare minimum, some kind of cloth to put around her shoulder as she is trying to fight it and push people back to just focus on getting to the sanctum. But they ultimately do have the time to help her as people are screaming. There's many people off the streets now. The smoke is still billowing in the various sections where the dragon has attacked. And a lot of the guards are still looking up in the sky, just being alert as you all are heading there. Is there anything you do or say real quick, Melvin, as you're heading there?
I think maybe we could end with, hello, guys, are you there? Over. I'm on my way. Over.
You hear that, Willow, but your other friends don't respond. I don't know if Willow responds. It's up to you, Willow.
Yeah, I think she's gonna take a second now, remembering that we have these things. I'm here. I'm at the temple with your Nestor's alive, not doing well. I don't know what happened. Lyx, Sneak, you there?
How are we supposed to know that you're over if you don't make the sound?
But Lyx and Sneak, but no one was there. No response from Lyx and Sneak. Do you guys try and check in again?
Yeah, I think she'd try again. I know I didn't say over.
No response from Sneak and Lyx. No response from Sneak and Lyx. Okay. So, Sneak, since you died first, this is all happening, sorry, we're jumping around a little bit in time. This might be a little bit before the Melvin thing that just happened. But Sneak, you are pierced. You are shish kebabbed. Your body is falling when suddenly Sly the Ling looks in the sky, grabs some weird little telescope thing that she has, and she's like, oh shit, that's Stubbs, I think. What the hell? He was on the dragon. Oh god, he looks dead. And then immediately Pa's like, what? Boy, get us up there. And he yells that to Smarts. He's like, what? And he's like, he's just trying to grab his head, and he's like, shit. And he grabs Pa and puts him on his back, starts climbing up, just swinging up onto the rooftops, and yells at Fan, just jumps into this weird scene with the flying thing. He says, I need that thing stat. I need it. And then Pa's like, yeah, and the Fan is just freaking out, like, what? And then Tatina looks at him and says, shit, we gotta save that guy. I forgot his name, but he was cute. Fan, jump on and wait, this is our test run. Go save him. I think the dragon's leaving. Go. And then the other scientist looking people and gnomes and the Aarakocra, they kind of look really, some of them look fancier and researchery, and they're just totally shocked. And then Fan's like, what the fuck? Okay, I don't think I'm strong enough for this. And then he's like, I don't have the leg strength. And then fucking Smarts, the Ling, says, that's not a problem. Get this thing up with me. As he lifts up his pants and his leg hair showing, his big thighs showing, rips off his massive leg weights that he holds just like you, Sneak, throws them off. They make a booming sound below. He runs at lightning speed, almost teleporting like you do, Sneak, jumping onto this thing and starts to pedal with all his might as Stan jumps on in the back of this thing, holding on. He's like, oh god, we didn't put seatbelts on this thing. And he says, you better hold on then. As Tatina slams a lever, launching them into the air. They're flying at crazy speed. And Stan's like, oh god, okay, pedal, use the levers, pedal. And then Smarts is pedaling at just unbelievable speeds and strength, focused, looking at you, judging the trajectory of where you're falling, Sneak, following your body, following it, as Pa climbs onto his head and balances himself. And Pa is on your brother's head with a giant, weird, foresty leaf cape, reaching out his hand. He's like, shit, I can't reach. I can't get him. As they're trying to get to you and you're just following. He's like, you gotta dive, boy. And then he stops pedaling and the thing fucking dives down. And your dad jumps off, going at you just like Willow did to Marshall, except he grabs you in a hug and then he does something on his cape and teleports back onto the flying thing. He's like, all right, go, go, go. As Smarts somehow uses his leg strength to turn this thing. He's like, shit, the sanctum. I've heard of the sanctum. That big ox thing. Maybe you can save my brother. Fuck. And then Pa's like, yeah, whatever. Use your brain for once. We need it. We're taking just to save. As they're pedaling and Sneak, you're fucking just blood just like falling off of you. Your dad is holding on. Blood is kind of flying onto Thran's glasses and he's like, oh shit. He's like, what the fuck is going on? As Willow, you see Melvin has made it to your scene and these fuckers crash next to you all. As in another place, another spot of the city where Lyx was falling, Scrip and this large woman in strange black attire and a strange netted veil feels something and grabs her chest and she's like, Lyx is in trouble. My sister's in trouble. There she is. No. And she looks up into the sky and she says, you have to go take her. I think the white robes, you have to take them to her, unfortunately. Go! And she casts something on Scrip, and he's like, what? And he just feels this intense power as his muscles get bigger and bigger. He's like, oh, shit, what the hell? He's like, go, Scoop. Do what you do best. Go, Scoop. As he launches himself, flying toward you, Lyx, feeling stronger than he ever has before, catching you with ease and still being able to fly and being like, oh, God, and still being a little grossed out, right, with you're very bloody, just blood going all over him, as he also, a few seconds after Sneak and his family crash into this scene, they make it. They drop your respective bodies off to your limp bodies. Yor touches you both with his horns, and that's when you guys experience everything we did at the beginning of this session, where Yor came in and cut through that disturbing entity, and the rest you all know. Sneak, I think you do wake up for 2 seconds. You say gang gang, if I recall, but then you immediately go back into a comatose state. Lyx, I don't think you wake up, but you breathe. You start breathing again. And then I think that rest of that scene, and Melvin and Willow, you can definitely jump in and change things up a little, but the rest of the scene is sending Scrip to basically go get the family. As the Delings, Pa, Smarts, and Than, who helped jump, this is his device, a prototype of this flying device. They're all catching their breaths. Pa kind of like passes out in front of Yor after that pretty intense rescue mission. And Smarts still has kind of like, it looks like he's wearing short shorts because he pulled up his pants so high up. It looks almost like he's giving himself a wedgie. Very hairy legs, very, very hairy, but very, very muscular thighs and strong calves. As he's kind of catching his breath and like kind of looking like Superman a little bit. For some reason, he didn't really mean to strike that pose, but he's just kind of there. He's like, oh, and he does the thumbs up to Sly, who's up on a rooftop, and she's like, hey, I think he won't die. I think he's alive. And then that's when Ma says, what wonderful news. And that's where we are, Melvin and Willow. What do you do? We're back to that scene. All of that has happened now. We know how our friends were saved. But yeah, this rush of events and craziness, just as your friends kind of, white robes do show up and do the same thing as they did to Marshall and Nestra, begin to levitate them and say, we must take them to more intensive care, but it seems like they will recover more quickly than the Marshal. As your little limp friends, their little short bodies, how tall are you guys, Sneak and Lyx? Like less than 3 feet, something like that? 3-4 feet?
I think I'm 2.5 feet.
2.5 feet, okay.
Yeah, I think I was like 3 to 3.5.
Wow,
or
so
maybe between 3 and 4.
I'm actually maybe 3.5 feet as well, yeah. I don't know why I said 2. About 3.5 feet.
Yeah, 2 is very short, but you guys are very tiny. I mean, it looks, from a far away distance, it definitely looks like maybe children, right? Like children. I do think
Lyx is still taller than me, so I do think she's still a little taller than me.
She might have gotten the Craig boost there. But your little bodies are being lifted up by the white robes as Scrip follows your orders, Melvin and Willow, and goes immediately off to find Lyx's parents. And you're just here now with the caretakers of Yor, and the Miathethil actually says you might be able to see them in maybe half an hour or so, actually. We just have to get them to the proper healing stones.
Please
And
just do whatever you need to do for them. Thank you.
yeah, and again, she kind of looks at Sneak's family, and she was wanted to say it to Script, and she's just like, "You guys, again, these beings they were at the cusp of death, and you saved them all." Fan is kind of like, he's actually a little teary-eyed. He's like, "Really?" And he's being a little more emotional about it. And Smarts is like, "Oh, thank God, my thighs are burning. So that would have been a waste." As he's kind of like rubbing his muscles on his legs, and Pa's just snoring now, like next to Yor, just absolutely passed out, snoring incredibly loudly. But Willow and Melvin, the floor is yours if you guys want to do anything. Time is open.
I think Melvin is gonna kind of let out a little bit of a sigh of relief, the kind of communal exhale that I think everybody is probably feeling right now. I think he's gonna look over to Willow and run up and hug her if she's willing.
So I think Willow's going to be a little bit stiff when you hug her, and her initial reaction is going to be, was it her or you who decided to not jump?
It was her, but Willow, ultimately Melodia was right.
Was she? Our friends died. You could have been there.
Had I even known, Willow, that you guys would fight soft like that, if I had even known that our friends nearly died, look, I can't change what happened in the moment, but I couldn't leave Levna behind either.
Yeah, and Levna's actually she's not with you guys. She's being tended to by Vitas, actually, who seems to try to be doing some healing thing at a kind of, somewhat far away bench, and more white robes are showing up and doing basic medical care on her. So they're actually not here. Only Smarts is here, and he's kind of like, he doesn't really know what's going on, but he's staying quiet. Smarts and the carekeepers, actually. Lance, the blonde young guy, is kind of like stepping away and like kind of going behind and pretending to tend to some stuff for Yor.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that was how things were going to go down either. Next time, maybe don't run for the ledge, though, if you're not going to jump. And she just hugged them back.
Melvin begins to say something, but just kind of sighs and relaxes into the hug.
She's going to hug you to the point that it hurts a little bit. Like she is just, like you are the one con friend.
Maybe there's like a slight back crack.
Cool. Yeah, and some time passes, and eventually, as you all are making amends, the white robes do say that you guys can visit Lyx and Sneak if you wish. And as this is happening, Lyx's parents have shown up, and Mayor Raven happened to be with them too. And Script is back as well. And Script kind of says, I'll let you all get your moments first. I think I've had enough scooping for today. And he's kind of like wiping some blood off of his goggles and his vest. He's like, I should go clean up. And he seems to want to say something, and he doesn't really know what to say for once. He's normally a chatterbox, and he's just like, okay, goodbye. And he kind of like, he actually doesn't fly. He like just starts walking down the stairs.
Hey, and Script, maybe just report on the Nestra, on Marshal Nestra, but maybe we shouldn't say too much about the Bronze Burst conditions right now, okay?
He's like, I don't want to report on anything right now, bud. I'm gonna go get some R&R if that's all right. And he looks pretty tired, and for once not as jolly as he normally is, as he kind of takes off his goggles and lets out a sigh and starts walking down the stairs.
Yes, and thank you for getting the families. I really appreciate that. Please go rest.
And he kind of looks at you and just does like a little with his feathery hands. There are ramps in the white robes, so Waywin in his wheelchair is able to move around on these white robe ramps as they look like they're heading toward Lyx and Sneak. And Smarts is also kind of following. He picks up Pa, who's still like knocked out, and just kind of puts him on his back, like, attaches him to him, and Pa's kind of like knocked out. And Sly, this whole time you all didn't look around, but she did make her way. She kind of sneaked her way up on a column and just was kicking her feet around with Ma on her back. She kind of like jumps down. You all didn't really notice her. Starts following the crowd, the small little crowd, to go check on Sneak and Lyx. What do you all do?
Melvin is going to take a seat. He realizes that, the Delings need to have their moment and the Sandbottoms need to have their moment. I guess he's just kind of feeling conflicted, but he's going to sit down on a nearby bench and use soul keys.
Oh, okay.
So kind of have like a piano type thing. And he's going to play. I'd like to see if he can use Song of Rest.
Sure. On himself?
Or just any friendly creatures who can hear your performance regain hit points. But I'm thinking also just good vibes. I don't know if that's going to help.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Levna followed, and she has a very similar approach to you. She has no interest in barging in while the families are there. But you guys kind of do go around a few corridors if you follow them a bit, and you're kind of in this really pretty open space space with now like columns and ceilings, and the room is nearby. This kind of stone wall that seems to open magically, and it kind of like rolls around. But there's pretty plants around. It seems like a space where patients or people that are healing can walk out and enjoy some sunlight and some pretty plants and flowers and such. So you're kind of at a nearby stone bench, maybe nearby stone bench. There might be a couple injured folks, but a lot of people are hiding, and they're definitely not out after what's just happened, pretty much. But Levna is kind of catching her breath next to you, in agreement of not wanting to go in until everyone has had their piece. But she insists on at some point just thanking. Well, she definitely profusely thanks you and Willow for saving the marshal, and you for saving her life. But now go ahead and do your song. So what are you gonna do?
Oh,
You just do a little jingle. Yeah, you do a little jingle. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have anything
You're
like
good. It's
that.
okay.
I imagine the acoustics
That's
are in this kind of dome ceiling. You mentioned so many different stone walls.
Yes.
That sound is going to bounce.
Just something very calm and peaceful and pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Willow, what are you doing? So yeah, Melvin's doing the soul keys to Levna. Levna's kind of catching her breath. Now she has this cloth cast on her right arm, and she's all casted up, and it looks like she will be out of combat for some time as that heals.
Willow is not going to make that same correct realization of maybe give the families a chance first. She's going to go in, not like to see them first, but she does want to be like in the room, basically.
Yeah,
just
in the background maybe.
That everybody is actually doing okay, and so she's going to go back into the rooms.
Cool. Yeah, so you're kind of in the back of the room then, I imagine. And Sneak and Lyx, you ended up in the same room, kind of like when they split patients in the same room. Similar sort of like drapage going, but from your perspective, Willow, you can kind of see both sides. And Willow, you see the Delings just kind of looking over Sneak, who is now totally wrapped in bandages, cloth bandages, totally passed out. Sneak, you're not wearing any of your sneaky stuff, none of your robes, none of your mask. It's just your tattoo face, and now your new scars. Your tattooed face, your scars, your ginger hair is out.
I will say I have more like typically like my belly's all tattooed, like most my top shoulders are all tattooed. I'm pretty much covered in tattoos except for the top of my chest. And then
go ahead. Yeah, if there's any descriptors that we don't know about you now, this is basically unclothed Sneak for the most part.
I would say he was similar to me and be very heavily tattooed with a heavily tattooed belly and tattooed thighs and stuff like that as well. But his chest is open, so he still has room there. But
can you share what you were saying? I got to the part where Willow can see both of us from.
Yeah, and Sneak's just laying down, and I'll explain what you're both laying down in a second. But basically, his body is, he's wearing some kind of undergarments and has cloth bandages all over where he was just injured, and he's resting. He's just resting totally in a comatose state, breathing. And he was just saying that the only thing we don't know about his appearance is that he's got a bunch of tattoos all over his body, except his chest area.
And except my forearms and where it would be obvious.
Oh, okay.
Except my face.
So Sneak and Lyx, you're both on this very odd gray, there's a column, and then there is kind of like this large rock platform that's almost in the shape of a bell, large. And at the center, there's some kind of like lighting crystal. This crystal that's pulsing. It keeps pulsing, and it's just releasing some kind of energy onto you all, and you're just on these things. There's a window in the background where you can kind of see that courtyard that I described, Willow, where Melvin is, the pretty trees and plants and stuff. The Delings, they look solemn. They look like they are reflecting and kind of looking at Sneak with a lot of love and admiration. And Pa actually wakes up and he's like, "Oh, is he okay?" And Smarts is like, ugh. And Smarts actually can't say anything. He can't speak, as even though he's not showing too much expression, it seems like it is getting to him seeing his brother like this. He can't say anything. And Sly says like, "Yeah, he should be okay." And then Pa looks at you with a lot of love, Sneak, even though you're not looking back at him and you can't, and says, "Looks like he's got a lot of you in him, Ma. He's a bit too rambunctious, this one. A bit crazy." And then Ma just says, "I love my son." And she like kind of starts to really push herself on Sly's shoulders using all her force all of a sudden. And Sly's like, "Ouch, what are you doing, Ma?" And like she's kind of getting tangled up in Sly's weird hair as Ma rolls out of the little handle thing and rolls next to you, Sneak, and gives you a giant hug. And Sneak, this is what you felt while Lyx's dad was singing. This was the warmth you felt. felt that kind of reached you while you were in the sanctum with You're the Benevolent. And Ma just kind of looks at them all and she says, I think I'll stay here for now. And they're all just kind of like, even Sly was like kind of taken aback by that and is like, okay. And she kind of like turns her away, and Smarts is just like bawling now as Pa is kind of like, he moves with Smarts as he starts bawling and he's like, oh shit. So he's not really able to react too well. Willow, you see that. And then you see Waywin and Bilbrick, and they're just holding Lyx's hands and seeing her scars and her scales. And it seems like they want to be very sad and they want to cry, but they're mostly shocked by the state of Lyx's body. Lyx, you're going to share with us a little bit. Lyx has this cursed energy, this cursed scars, this black veins, distorted, these scales appearing. And your dads are absolutely shocked. They want to be, and they still are very sad and are touching you and love you, but they're also just so confused and scared and can't believe what they're seeing. They don't know about this. They don't know about any of the scales that Lyx has had, any of these reptilian features, and now they're really shining with the new scars, the X cross slash that Soth has given Lyx. So Willow, that's what you see as you're kind of hanging out in the background. The Delings finally broke down.
Yeah, I think she's just going to be quietly observing from the back of the room, probably also silently crying again a little bit, because I think when they brought them in, she probably wasn't paying too much attention to the wounds specifically, but now she sees all of it.
And eventually they do leave, and they don't say too much to you. They just maybe some of them show some gratitude. They're unsure of what happened and they don't really want to ask right now, but maybe you get the impression that at some point they do want to know. But as they're leaving, they head out. A white robe kind of moves the stone that slides away. Waywin in his wheelchair kind of rolls up to you, Melvin, as you're playing. And he says, Melvin, could you or your friend help me with a song? I just remembered a song I used to sing to Lyx when she was little, when she was truly a little pebble, and I could really appreciate your help. And maybe Mesko, if you know where he is.
Of course. Anything for you.
He says, I haven't sung it in a while, so I might need to practice a little. But they've told me that they might be out for a few days at least, or even longer.
We'll stay close by.
Thank you. We'll be in touch then.
Go and get some sleep.
Yeah, and they kind of roll away as you agree to help him with a song. And yeah, time kind of passes by. Now you guys can have your times with Lyx and Sneak if you want that. I'll open up that space, Willow and Melvin. At some point, Levna does show her respects to them. And actually, Levna does make an oath to you, Melvin, and says, when I am healed. And you kind of see her clearly now. She doesn't have her helmet. You sort of saw it in the bar where she didn't have her helmet, but now she doesn't. And you see the scar on the left side of her face that's kind of drooping a lot of her side. It looks kind of like an electric burn on her face. And it actually does reach up to her scalp on the side. So she's balding there just with some strands of hair that she's never cut. She kind of leaves it out in the open. But the other side of her she's fair-faced. She's very beautiful on the other side, but that side is a little scarier. And she makes an oath to you, Melvin, and says, for saving my life, if you or the Bronze Bombers ever need another ally, with whatever odd things you all do, I am there for you as soon as I can help. And she kind of like looks at her arm, which I hope will be soon.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I know that Sneak and Lyx would too.
And she's like, I'm serious. This is for the Marshal, for all of you. It's for Ceramil, Taltus. It's my honor. Meath est solaris auth Meathas. Call upon me if you need my help. And then she kind of like, with her other hand, tries to lift up her sword to her head and then gives you all the time to be with your friends as she walks away. And I mean that. So now, if you feel like you want to bring Levna with you all on some kind of quest or favor or whatever, she will be there. Levna, the Knight of Solamnia, is willing to drop whatever to help you, Melvin, and the Bronze Bombers.
Put that in our character sheets under allies. Y'all,
yeah, she's a
note taker.
Yes, she feels, and she kind of does apologize. She has a brief moment where she apologizes just for kind of mischaracterizing all of you. And actually Willow, if you do hang out in the room, or anyone, if you go in when Levna goes in, you see her really apologize to Sneak. And she says, you have so much more honor than I ever would have thought, my little friend. I apologize for treating you as if you were a fool. She's like, I could learn from a hero like you. And maybe when you guys are in that other world, Lyx and Sneak, you guys hear like these whispers of some of these things. You feel some of these things, but you don't quite know exactly what's happening. And Levna kind of looks at you, Lyx, in shock as well, right? And then she kind of touches her scar as she's looking at you, Lyx, and is just like looking at you. And she says, "You're braver than most." But she still kind of looks at you with a little concern and kind of touches your hand for a moment as she like walks away. And then she kind of bids farewell to Willow and Melvin, and now it's just you two.
Willow will wait for a time where it's kind of like between people and nobody else is in the room at the moment. She'll go over to Sneak's unconscious self and go, "That was incredibly stupid, but I admire why you did it. Please heal up and come back to us, you impulsive dumbass." And kind of like gently pat his head in a very, "Yeah, just come on, you got this, come on back." After a second, she'll go over to where Lyx is laying and just, "I'm so sorry. I should not have left. Nestra was falling and I knew that I could keep her from hitting the ground and that maybe that would get us a chance. And I didn't even reach her. Misko saved us, or saved her. And I'm just so sorry. I shouldn't have left." And we'll kind of sit there and cry for a little bit, feeling the guilt of that. And then again, also kind of beg for Lyx to get better and come back too. I know they said that they'll be okay, but and then kind of eventually compose herself again and be towards the back of the room again until somebody else wants to come in, and if they want a moment, she'll step out as well.
Yeah, and Ma was actually there, right, next to Sneak. And she's like not looking at you. She's kind of like looking at Sneak and just kind of napping a little bit. And she's just like, "Such lovely work," and doesn't really look up at you.
I think next Melvin would like to go in. He kind of goes towards like where they're both suspended, almost as if in like a sort of prayer. He gets down on his knees. Maybe he's thinking about Branchala, any sort of help. I don't expect like a divine miracle, but I mean, hey girl. But okay, but in seriousness, like he's like, "My friends, it really pains me to see you like this." And maybe the like sort of stutter that Melvin characteristically has is a little gone. He's like, "My fear held me back and I couldn't leap with you, but I stayed to save Venra, and I hope you can understand why. I promise from now on, I'll find the courage to never leave your sides again." And then I think I'd like to, like, how often is there care? Like, are they just kind of suspended? Are there attendants going
white
through?
robe. There's always white robes outside of the room. That help open the door, and they kind of go in back and forth and check, every 20-30 minutes. And are you going to do something?
Can I try to burn my very last spell slot on a lesser restoration spell, or do you want me to have spell components for that?
Sure. No, I think that's fine.
I guess I'm just going to see like what happens.
Yeah, are you doing this on Lyx or both of them?
I think I'm going to do it on Lyx.
Okay. Yeah, some of the necrotic crust on that scar seems to fizzle away, and then some of it kind of takes, new versions of it kind of start to pop in again.
I had to try, my friends. I don't know what's going to happen, but
it seems like, this is more than
trying.
Just, whatever's happening to Lyx clearly. So it's still worthwhile because it's information. Now you know that whatever is going on with Lyx here is more than just a single status, right? This is more akin to a curse or some kind of lasting negative thing. And then Willow and Melvin, if there's nothing else you do here, is there anything else you guys do?
I get one free well, I think I'm going to go to Willow and I'm going to ask her if I have a friend who might be able to help us, but I need her to we're going to leave somewhere kind of more secret for a second.
But you're still in the room?
I guess that's me going to talk to Lyx because I want to cast Augury. So maybe if we need going towards a break, I can send the spell description.
Since it's 8 o'clock, how are you guys feeling? Do you guys?
Oh yeah, never mind.
I don't know if we want to power through to the end, or do you guys want to break and I guess we could push it a little bit.
I'm chilling.
I just need 2 minutes to go pee, literally 2 minutes.
Go ahead. We can do just do a thing you got to do, refresh, and then come back when you can. Try to keep it below 5 minutes. All right.
I really liked your little thing that you wrote for Lyx's little death part. Those shit was tight, by the way.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
this has been a very emotional episode. Like, even I can't even suspend that this isn't reality. Like, I really am feeling all this shit. And
You know what's crazy is I was like, why isn't Lyx just going? And then you explained that little part in there, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I get it now. Like, I get why you tried to fucking delay things.
Oh,
Alrighty, friends. So, Melvin, you and yes, Lyx, amazing thing. Loved it all. I love this session. It's a very emotional, reflective. I hope it's still fun. It's different. I wanted to, kind of experiment and just see like what happens when we really just embrace, our friends almost dying and, these fake beings that we've created. I think it's going well. But yes, so Melvin, you cast the augury spell inside of the sneak healing room.
I don't exactly know what his like divining tool is. Maybe like,
Let's call it Broncala's necklace or ring.
okay,
Sorry, ring.
the ring.
Yeah,
So maybe it's like twisting the ring.
sure. So
I
what do
guess
you ask it? What do you say out loud?
I think I want to know about Soth, and has Soth gone back to his? Do we know? Wait, out of character.
You
Do we
do,
know
you
he
do
lives
know
in
because of
Darkroad?
Becklin told you all.
Right. So ask if he's taken
Yeah,
the
remember
morning flame there.
Becklin, Ispin, Darrett's parents, Kujal, and maybe some others went to Dargard Keep and
I thought so. I just was like, did
yeah, Darrett's
in
parents
character know
were
that or out of character?
killed there, and everyone else barely
hmm
got out alive. Okay, well, it says a course of action that you plan to take within the next 30 minutes is what I'm reading here. So what I'll do, you could phrase it maybe like, do you want to, should we follow Soft, or something like that, or something
Yeah.
along those lines, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, a crack forms on the stone ground right below the ring. A couple crack form, and that's it.
So is
Or
that
a couple cracks go, and then more cracks come out of that. And that so
so
it
is
it almost looks like something was smashed into the ground there now. But
oh
it just formed.
so is that Woe GM
I don't think I have to
or
tell you. I think
for both students?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I have to tell you. It's your interpretation.
Okay.
So that's the symbol. That's the omen. I just have to tell you the omen that is given. But in my
He
head,
looks over
I was guided by those things. Just so you know.
Okay. He looks over to Willow and he's like, oh, even with the tide, I can't really see what's going to go on. The reality of it is, Soth has the morning flame right now.
Yeah, I
And
don't think this is a fight we can fight right now. I mean, even with all four of us, when we were doing fine, which we are not doing fine right now, we got further than I thought we would, but it still wasn't enough. We're going to need to get maybe some powerful friends or something, or get stronger in the meantime. I'm not really sure how this plays out.
time, rest. It seems like you could just toss us away like rag dolls, and I'm so sorry that you had to watch them get hurt like that. I'm sorry.
I didn't really. I jumped. I don't know what happened after.
Oh,
And
oops.
as you say that, Willow, you guys hear the stone, because I imagine you're kind of around the ground now, like maybe not on the ground, but looking at Melvin's weird little omen thing. The stone behind you moves and someone enters. And before you all can really look, you hear the unmistakable voice. So, you all fought that red dragon, did you? As Lord Baccharis Jr. is here in the room. And he's looking intensely at Sneak and then Lyx. And actually, go ahead and do insight checks immediately, Melvin and Willow. And here's Lord Baccharis Jr., in case you all forget, our snobby-nosed ex-manager of the Fern Gully Inn back in Vogler, the shitty boss.
Both of their shitty bosses. Hold on, I'm trying to do math.
Yeah,
So,
Willow, you're probably just angry
19.
immediately, I think, just seeing him, just hearing his voice. And
Immediately hungry.
there's nothing that you read on him. It's just your emotions at him right now.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20, you actually...
16 plus 3 plus 1 wisdom bonus.
Sure. You actually sense a weird fear on his face and maybe hesitation and a little bit of like he's stunned a little bit. Like he actually looks reflective for once. He doesn't look like he's gonna attack either verbally or physically, as far as you can tell.
I guess
He looks more
with
subdued. He looks more subdued than he ever has. He doesn't seem to have that pompous demeanor as always. He just came in and asked that question, so you all fought on that red dragon.
Melvin's sensing this is going to put his hand on Willow reassuringly and like kind of give her a nodding affirmation, or maybe on her side because he's kind of short. But
Oh, she's immediately going to ask, what the fuck are you doing here?
oh, nope. She's still not going to call him the barbarian. Nope. I think Melvin's going to look at her and be
A
like,
little bit of
not
his
exactly.
smugness, a little bit of his smugness immediately comes back on his face as he like lifts his like nose up. You know, he does kind of like that face at you, and he says, "I came to ask the question I asked. You all fought on that dragon, and your friends are laying here at death's door because they fought on that dragon."
Willow, I don't. I know it's hard for you. I know, raw barbarian, raw, but you have to just. I have a feeling about this.
She's going to take a very deep breath. Some of us were on the back of that dragon. Yes.
I see. And somehow you all managed to survive. And you all said that Vogler was attacked by dozens of these things? Hundreds?
Maybe more, yes.
And then he kind of like looks back and like catches himself a little bit and like doesn't actually look at you guys and is kind of like looking off into nothing as he's thinking. And then he looks back at Sneak and intensely and then looks at Lyx with more intention and more shock as he like really notices like her body now and the scars and everything.
I think Melvin seeing this is going to sort of to say, yeah, this is what we're fighting. This is what we're up against. The Red Dragon army could blow Vogler off the map, sure. But you see how much just won. And Melvin's actually feeling pretty firm now. I think that's really important here, is that Melvin is feeling pretty confident and really like emphasizing what the true problem is to like Lord Baccharis, the younger,
Yeah.
the lesser.
The lesser.
He says, yes, I hope they're not all as skilled as this one was. I saw you all. I saw the dragon flying around, the ballistas missing their mark, the dragon swerving around as if the shots were nothing and then going in for the attack. And that was just one of these creatures. And then he says, perhaps I had you all mistaken. And then he kind of like turns away and like, you know, swings his cape around. And it looks like he might want to say something, but he's just kind of standing back against you all, trying to catch himself. He's kind of grabbing his hair a little bit. And then he kind of gives like a weird smile. And unless you guys say or do anything, it looks like he's just going to walk away.
Willow's going to look over to Melvin for approval, whether she should do something or not. She's going to do another deep breath and continue to stay silent.
I'm
Cool. Yeah, but Lord Baccharis the Younger walks away after that kind of weird, tense exchange where, yeah, he just seemed really interested, wanting to know, like, this is what happened to Vogler. It finally hit him, right? Because they ran away like cowards. Finally hit him what they're up against, it seemed. Cool. So unless there's anything else you guys really, really need to do in the Sneak Lyx thing, and just so you guys know, they're going to be out for days. So you can maybe in chat share like, hey, eventually I do this, eventually I do that, to visit your friends who are still comatose. Meanwhile, the whole time Sneak and Lyx, you guys are meditating or walking in a valley, fishing, doing all those things. You guys kind of walk out, and Levin is actually waiting near the exits that head to the plaza where You're the Benevolent is, and there's some guards there. The guards look at you both and they say, and Levna looks a little upset, and she's like, I apologize to report to you, Bronzeburs, but you are demanded to go to Castle Calaman with haste to join the emergency High Council meeting. We need a record of your events that took place today, all of you, Levna Dracehorn, Willow Venra, as well as you, Melvin. We will provide, they will,
Friends?
huh?
Do you want us to carry our unconscious friends as well?
No, of course not. They will be left to rest and heal. I'm just the messenger, ma'am. Or sir, or lieutenant, whatever you are. Sorry, I actually don't know your rank.
I'd say lieutenant, corporal. I don't know, dude. Who's the boss? What is that? Lieutenant major?
It was Marshall.
Okay, well, she's lieutenant major or lieutenant marshal. I don't know, dude.
It seems like Levna's in semi-authoritative right now. Well,
Yes.
Melvin sort of looks and he's like, well, it doesn't look like we have much of a choice. So,
And then the guards kind of like look at you, like kind of nodding their head.
She's still steaming, but she'll start walking forward wherever they're pointing towards.
You guys start walking on over, and you get there eventually after quite a long walk, right? You know, a good 20-30 minutes. As it seems like most of the fires are dying down across the city, dusk is starting to hit, and the streets are pretty empty. There's a couple of braver souls that are kind of just noticing the damage done, which honestly isn't as horrific besides Tower Glorfindel, which has, now gaping hole on the side of it. Scratch marks and Soth's giant fireball hole on the side of it. Outside of that, looks like it was mostly scorpions that were destroyed, maybe some scorch marks and claw marks on some of the walls, but really nothing super major, surprisingly. You all eventually make it to the throne room where all the High Council members are waiting, and I'm gonna move us to roll 20 real quick, and we're almost at a good stopping point. As I already spawned you, Willow and Melvin, with Levna there. You guys can arrange yourselves if you enter differently or whatever. There are guards this time. There are a couple servants around as well that I didn't have here, and hopefully you all can see the names of everyone here, but I can also quickly just remind everyone. Actually, I won't do that. We can do that next session, do the reminders of exactly who everyone is, because we're about to end. But you see all the High Council members. You see Theriatus, of course. You see Colton's High Council member, Thaddeus, the big bearded strange man that manages the waters, the shipping area. You see Maester Aelmentios, the gnome, correct? The gnome maester in charge of public health, basically. Of course, our good friend Alastrius. And I staggered them, by the way, just so you could see their names more easily, but they're all sitting at the table, obviously. Alastrius, right? Arts and culture. Alastrius noticeably does have a cloth kind of bandage across his head still from your guys' adventures in the painted world. You see Commander Gaius. This is the big old human guy with big armor, big blue armor. He's the one who was there to help knight Marshal Nestra as the Rose Reborn. He's also the one that almost chopped your head off, Sneak, when you jumped onto the stage. He's there right next to the governor, Governor Miat, our kind of douchebag governor, leading the front of the table. And then a surprise attendance from no longer Captain Rodan, but General Rodan, who was promoted at the military ceremony from captain to general after his heroics in Vogler in helping lead a military charge there to try and protect Vogler and then eventually evacuate the people of Vogler. To help lead that charge, he was, if you all remember, he was a Calaman soldier. He is a Calaman soldier now. He is a general, and he almost died.
That we ordered and saved.
You did. Indeed. You guys
when
did
we
save
ordered the retreat and evacuation.
Right. Yep. He helped with all of that. And if you all remember, he became stone. He became a statue from one of the Draconians. And Derek used his body to hide and kind of survive himself. And then we have Baccharis, Lord Baccharis Sr., who is now a general, seemingly just from politics and talking and influence and power. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Lyx's Onyx Moragak, the masons person, the constructions person. But yeah, you guys are all here. And the governor kind of stands up and says, "Thank you all, Bronze Bombers, those of you who were able to make it, and as well as you, Sir Drakehorn. I want to start by thanking you all for your service today, for standing up for Calaman in our time of need, for saving our Marshal, and at least for trying to stop whatever that being was that took the morning flame. I also want to apologize to you, Bronze Bombers, at least Willow and Melvin. I believe I've misjudged you both. I struck you down as liars and cowards, but it's clear that your actions show nothing but bravery and care for this new community that you've joined. So you may accept my apologies if you wish, but I just want to share that with you both."
Hi, and me as well. I would also like to apologize. I've seen the roles that you have been given as Nestor gave the roles to Sir Sneak and Lyx to hold the flame, and they hold their roles. And I seen Willow hold the role of protecting Marshal Nestra and Melodia protecting Lenebra. Is that it?
Levna.
Levna.
Yeah, hey, you were right there. I love it.
Anyway, so in protecting Levna, so I agree, wholesomely. We'll make sure that they continue their legacy here.
Yeah, and Theriatus is like, "For once, I actually agree with Mr. Timberjaw here. And I gotta say, we gotta stop doubting the Marshal here." And he kind of looks at everyone. He looks at everyone in the room, especially the governor, because she's got the instincts of a goddamn hawk or a bear or whatever you want to say, but she trusted these folks, and look at them now. To be fair, he kind of like whispers, like, "I also thought they would be really great. But the Marshal, I just want to share a word for the Marshal, whose instincts in protecting Calaman basically surpass us all. Theriata seems to say something pretty nice about the Marshal, and agreeing with him and Timberdrive kind of have a lot of tension and don't really like each other, but agreeing with him in this instance. Yeah, and for those who have council members, or Willow, Melvin, you guys can jump in. This is pretty much, we're hitting the end here and to set up the next session.
Melvin will make a pretty firm, he accepts the apology very silently to the governor. We're politicking, baby.
Cool. Yeah, and Ilastrius kind of puts his hat to his heart and is just like, I am terribly sorry about the Marshal and about poor little sneaking Lyx. My heart goes out to all of them. And I would pay a visit to them as soon as I am able to, as soon as maybe even tonight. You're all strong for hanging in there. I imagine you're exhausted and weary and deserve rest. So perhaps we can get on with this and give us all the time and space we need in this time of mourning and suffering. Commander Gaius kind of stands up and puts his hands on the table and looks at everyone, looks at you all at the front, Levna, Willow, Melvin, and kind of nods to you all in approval, doesn't say anything though, and says, Calaman has been attacked by the Red Dragon army. As commander, with Marshal Nestor being gone, I am the temporary supreme military leader of Calaman. We have no choice now but to declare war against this Red Dragon army, and I would even vote and push that we declare war on all of the dragon armies we've heard word of. The Green Dragon army, the Blue Dragon army, and perhaps the White one we've heard some rumors of in the south. This is a threat we can no longer hide and turtle in. Calaman is no longer safe. We've been directly attacked by beings with incomprehensible power. The strongest among us fell. So now, High Council members, we shall talk. And I hope you will support our efforts to expand our military, to increase the efficacy of our scorpions, the training of our soldiers, the recruitment, and to find out what we can about this morning flame, this Soth, and whatever other evils may be plaguing Ansalon. And that's where we will stop. We will pick up from there and have a little High Council meeting. So maybe I'll provide a few more details, but it'll be kind of similar to last time where there's a little bit of chatter, right? A little bit of voting, but the main topics are going to be summary to the extent that Melvin and Willow can, and Levna, summaries of what happened. You guys don't have, and you guys can do, you can just say we tell them everything, or we tell them everything but leave out blah, blah, blah. You don't actually have to do all that and, say it all unless you want to. Yeah, and then there's going to be some talks about expanding the military, expanding the scorpions, the training, and maybe some other things regarding taking the offensive and no longer turtling, as he said.